Richie B, the party master, on Up and Go.
This morning I kind of cut it close because I volunteered to take my son to school. And when I realized that my calculations were not working out as planned, I've been digging at the phone quick and fast and call for your brethren. So, what you there? Can you get to the gate of the station at X time, like 5 minutes to 7 o'clock? You know who that was. Have no fear. Come help me out. I said to John Mark when I turned at the Canadian Embassy, I said, if it's up to him, he's going to get to that gate before I do, and so it was. So that worked out very well. Thank you, Dennis, for your help in the last moments, a few moments ago. Thank you. All right, my name is Richie B. This is Up and Go, and we're here on the Bridge 99 FM to the world. And we're going to keep it nice and jiggy. Lots of information. We've got some great interviews lined up, some great guests, and a lot of stuff that you like to hear. Keep it locked right here until 11. It's Up and Go on the Bridge. It's time now for WTF. What the fact? Hey, listen to this interesting fact here right now. This is one animal. Sorry, let me start again. This is one animal myth that's true. You want to hear it? Well, here it is. Eating parts of a pufferfish can kill you because, in a defense mechanism to ward off predators, it contains a deadly chemical called tetrodotoxin. Now, there's enough in one pufferfish to kill 30 people. And there's no antidote. But still, listen to this. The pufferfish, which is also called the fugu, is a highly prized delicacy in Japan. But it can only be prepared by well-trained chefs. May I offer you some pufferfish? Nil. But I have a good chef out of Japan. Oh, him could have good like gold. No pufferfish. Nobody in the studio wants some pufferfish? Nah, I wouldn't want to try that one. All right. Can you imagine if the chef makes a mistake? You're dead. Hey, pufferfish, you have a long life once people like us are around. You have nothing to worry about. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for our what we call our proverb of the day. And we do a proverb every day. We give you the Jamaican proverb, then we give you the English translation, and we follow through with an explanation to this proverb. And I have an interesting one for you today. Listen to this.
You can't sit down pan cow back Costco kin.
Hold on. You hear what she does say? Check it one more time.
You can't sit down pan cow back Costco kin.
Oh, you can do that. You can't sit down pan cow back Costco kin. You're mad. Oh, you can do that. Hey, can you imagine somebody, I don't know, somewhere overseas just heard that and going, what? What did I just hear? What did she say? All right, let me help you if you can manage the English. It really means, it really is translated to mean you cannot sit on the back of the cow and curse the skin of the cow. That is what that Jamaican proverb is really saying. You can't sit down pan cow back, cause cow, not even skin, but kin. We call it Raban Patwa. So it's translated to mean you cannot sit on the back of the cow and curse the skin of the cow. Now, what does that really mean? Simply, we should not disparage others. Worse yet, we should never be ungrateful to or disdainful of those who help us. All right? So the cow decides, all right, you can get a little ride on its back. And you're going to talk about how it's thick and dirty and of course the cocaine. You can't do that. Don't disparage others. Worse yet, we should never be ungrateful to or disdainful of those who help us. All right. Thank you for that one. It's a Jamaican proverb that we share with you at this time every weekday morning. So I was making the point earlier, ladies and gentlemen, that there are a number of world leaders who are, in fact, frustrated for various things that are happening in their country or even by citizens of their country. And there are three of them that spring to mind immediately. Did you all hear President Emmanuel Macron over there from France, the way he behaved recently, which has caused a lot of controversy and a lot of backlash that he's getting as he gets close to an election in France. The opposition is really roasting him. But he has been accused of using divisive or even vulgar language after he used a slang term to say he wanted to make life difficult for unvaccinated people. I cannot repeat what the president said here, but just suffice it to say he basically said, I really want to, my term, tick them off. Okay? That term belongs to me. That is not what the president said. He used what many are saying is more vulgar language. And he says further that he'll continue and carry on doing this to the end. So the unvaccinated people are really frustrating the president of France, Emmanuel Macron. 3 months ahead of a presidential election, his opponents are really giving him a hard time as a result of that comment that he made. A frustrated leader. But he's not the only one. Another frustrated leader happens to be Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who basically slammed a number of maskless Canadians who were on a flight from Montreal to Mexico. And what do you think they do? They started vaping and pounding on the plane and dancing up a storm. They were maskless. They were drinking all kinds of booze. And the Prime Minister has come out and said, I'm frustrated with people like those who behave like that. And in fact, those people are in a spot of bother because now we understand that these travelers could face more scolding. They could be fined $5,000 each for the violation that they would have committed. The group, we understand, was set to return home on January 5, but Sunwing, the airline that took them down, canceled the return leg. And other airlines, including Air Canada, are saying, hey, we're not even interested in having these people as passengers. So we're not even too certain if they are stranded in Mexico. But the Prime Minister is very frustrated. Those are two Prime Ministers, in fact, two leaders, one a president, one a Prime Minister, who are showing their frustration. But we don't have to look further than home. Right here in Jamaica, our own Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, did you see him giving that speech at the National Prayer Breakfast? And I don't know, some are saying he started crying, some are saying he got near to tears as he was, in fact, bemoaning the problems that the country is facing as it relates to crime and violence. And he showed his frustration during his address, a very emotional address at the National Prayer Breakfast. Now listen to the words of our own Prime Minister, showing his frustration with crime and violence in this country. Here he is.
I read in the papers today of the two brothers who were murdered in Westmoreland. I am so sorry about it. And the sister saying, Prime Minister, I just want to talk to you about it. I just want to, it's an appeal to hear what are our leaders doing about this. She's not quarreling, she's not blaming, she didn't even sound angry. Obviously she was distraught, but she says, Prime Minister, just come talk to me about it. Help me to make sense of it. Why they kill my brother? Why you kill the 10-year-old? Why? I go to my bed with these things on my conscience every night. I know that I have tried. It's a minefield. Because every turn you make, there is someone who is trying to stop it, and I have to wonder, are they in support of the criminals in the...
Now that sounds like a frustrated Prime Minister, doesn't it? And a very emotional Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, as well. Prime Minister, you're not alone. Many of us wonder daily, nightly, why? Many of us have suffered loss of our loved ones, family, friends, and even those who have not are also concerned and frustrated. The question is, why? I'm pleased to welcome to the program Kadian Snow. Good morning, Kadian.
Good morning.
Welcome to the program. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, and how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Do I catch you in New York this morning?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Now, your surname is Snow. Are you experiencing snow right now?
Not at the moment. It's gonna come on Friday.
Oh, I see. All right. It will snow in New York on Friday. Okay, Katie, and I hope it doesn't, it's not too bad, and I hope that you're finding good ways to cope with the colder temperatures that you're experiencing right now.
Well, it's not easy to cope with it.
All right. Tell us a little about Kadian, the author.
Okay, so I started writing my books in 2020. I always wanted to write books, but I didn't actually get to go around it until about June 2020. During this pandemic, I decided to start writing because I was like, I didn't know if I was going to end up catching the COVID and die from it, because where I was working, there were so many persons that was dying from COVID. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I can't be one of those people. I have to get my stuff done. So it prompted me to basically just start writing and putting my stuff out. I reached out to a few people. Thankfully, God led me to them. Mm-hmm. And then I started to publish.
And then your book came, Silent P.
Yeah, Silent P.
What particularly inspired the book Silent P?
Well, one of the reasons why I wrote it, I had my own experience after I got divorced. I wasn't working, and I wasn't able to even. I was like, my friend was like, "How are you gonna pay for these stuff?" Because my spouse left me when I was basically not working, and I'm ill. So he's like, "How can you do that to somebody?" And then he was like, "You have your period. If that was my sister, or if that was my mom, or niece, or whatever, it's kind of upsetting." So he was like, "How are you gonna do that?" So I decided to write a book about. I realized that there's a growing situation in the world where you have a lot of women who are being displaced either through domestic situations or, poverty. Some people can't afford the basic necessities, or some persons that, in my case, like for me, I was unemployed. So a lot of times you don't realize the situation until you're in it yourself. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So it came about as a result of that, me not being able to work, not having a spouse to support me, I didn't have a lot at the time. So I just decided to write a book about it, to teach girls about the period and to teach and to highlight the period poverty. And there was a growing campaign around period poverty that's happening in Jamaica and throughout the world. So I just kind of brought the both of them together.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that it's a subject that some people still find uncomfortable to talk about?
Yes, I do. I realize that a lot of persons, especially when it comes to men, they don't know nothing much about the period that much unless they have maybe a wife or a girlfriend, or they grew up with sisters and stuff. But it's not a topic that a lot of men or boys know about. So it's an uncomfortable topic because most of the girls, when you talk to them, they say they never had a conversation about period when they were growing up with their parents. It's either from the guidance counselors at school, and sometimes it's not something that they go into fully. So, yes, it's an uncomfortable topic for a person to talk about.
So, is the book addressing things like how we can put an end to period poverty, and do you have some suggestions that you can make this morning?
Well, it's not really highlighting about how to put an end to it. It's about bringing awareness to it. It's just talking about what's going on in the world, and it's a grave need to basically get rid of.
Right. So I wanted to ask you, do you have suggestions as to how it can be addressed?
Well, for one, you have to go into schools to kind of educate girls about, not just girls, but educate the general populace about what is period poverty and how to go about purchasing sanitary napkins. I do think that they need to actually have sanitary napkins free in schools, particularly for the girls' schools, because it's not easy. Sanitary napkins are they're not cheap. And I think there's one country in the world that actually, I think it's Denmark, if I'm not mistaken. When I did my first interview about my books, there's a country that they started doing free sanitary napkins in the school to help the eradication of period poverty. So it's something that we can do because we don't have a choice when it comes to having our period. It's something that happens naturally. And so as a result of that, we do need help with it.
Mm-hmm. All right. So for persons listening, how can they actually get a copy of your book if they're interested?
They can get a copy of my books through Amazon, BarnesandNobles.com, Walmart.com, Powell's.com. Those are some of the websites that currently have my book. And it's in one bookstore in Brooklyn, downtown Brooklyn, called McNally Jackson, which is located downtown Brooklyn in New York.
How well is the book doing so far? The Silent P.
The Silent P isn't picking up because I want to try and get the books in schools. That's one of the places I think it will do well in, if it's actually given to students for them to read as a part of their academic. It's being on their academic list of books that they have there in Jamaica, or not just Jamaica, but throughout schools in general.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So now that the writer's bug has bitten, do you plan to publish all the books in the near future?
I'm not sure yet, but never say never.
All right. Listen, good luck with this one. And I think it is timely and topical, and we hope that it does well. And thank you so much for talking with us this morning. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, and have a great one, too.
All right. All the best. A chat there with published Jamaican author. Her name is Kadian Snow, who has recently published the book, The Silent P. I have a statement that was issued at 11:45 a.m. yesterday. Now, I signed off at 11 o'clock, and you'd have, if you listened yesterday to the program, you'd have heard me and my guest, Gramps Morgan, who is one of the nominees in the Best Reggae Album category for this year's Grammy Awards, and he was making the point that he definitely has plans to attend the awards ceremony. He with his album Positive Vibration, Soja with the album Beauty in the Silence, there's Itana with Pamoja, Sean Paul with his album Live and Livin', and Spice with the album entitled 10, as well as Jesse Royal with his project Royal, are the nominees in the Best Reggae Album category. So Gramps was on air saying, yeah, I'm going to the award ceremony, and we spoke about that, if you remember. Well, at 11:45 yesterday, the news came in a joint statement from the Recording Academy and from CBS, and I read it as it was sent. After careful consideration and analysis with city and state officials, health and safety experts, the artist community and/or many partners, the Recording Academy and CBS have postponed the 64th Annual Grammy Awards show. the health and safety of those in our music community, the live audience, and the hundreds of people who work tirelessly to produce our show remains our top priority. Given the uncertainty surrounding the Omicron variant, holding the show on January 31 simply contains too many risks. We look forward to celebrating music's biggest night on a future date, which will be announced soon. So, that is the message that we got from the Recording Academy and from CBS. This year's Grammy Awards, which was scheduled then for the 31st of January, has now officially been postponed, and I suspect a new date will be announced sometime into the future. And we have a very special guest we'll be speaking with in a moment's time. She's the chairman of the People's National Party, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke. And I don't know how many of you have been following the story. A surcharge, we understand, has now been instituted against the permanent secretary in the Education Ministry, Dean Roy Bernard, and acting permanent secretary, Dr. Grace McLean, after it was revealed that the ministry was unable to account for some 124 million Jamaican dollars. Education Minister Favour Williams confirmed the latest development during yesterday's post-cabinet press briefing. We're joined at this time by Dr. Angela Brown-Burke of the People's National Party. She's the chairman. Good morning, Dr. Brown-Burke. How are you doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to your listeners as well.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
Fine, thanks.
Sorry, Doc?
I'm saying, and I'm fine. Thank you for asking.
All right. Wonderful to have you here on the program, as always. For the layman listening to us right now, Dr. Brown-Burke, who may not understand what a surcharge is, can you first of all explain what it is and how it affects the situation relating to the permanent secretary and the acting permanent secretary?
Well, there is a practice within the government service where when individuals have heads of agencies, departments, and so on have made a decision that has cost the government money that you probably believe should not have been done. Mm-hmm. As the AG would have said, when you have not attended to your fiduciary responsibility,
yes.
they take some money. They ask you to pay back some money.
Oh.
That's basically a simple way of saying it. So the surcharge is that you're asked to pay something. How that's calculated, I'm not sure, and in this case, I'm not sure. In this particular case, how I'm understanding it is that, as the Auditor General had said, that both individuals, Mr. Bernard and Mrs. McLean, in terms of responsibilities they had at the time, mm-hmm. acted in a way that was not appropriate in terms of following even their own rules. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're in the middle of an investigation about whether or not it is proper to make payment under these circumstances, you can then go ahead and make another payment, for example, mm-hmm. which is part of what's done. So I am the idea of levying a surcharge or asking them to pay back in acknowledgement that what was done was not correct is a way of having a penalty imposed. So from that sense, I'm tempted to say, oh, that sounds like a very good idea, because with all that is happening in the Ministry of Education, we have rarely seen anyone actually being held accountable, you know? Yeah. There some are in the courts, there's a lot of talk about some, but we just have not seen that kind of accountability and personal responsibility being taken. Of course, under these circumstances, though, there are still some questions, I believe, that need to be answered. So, for example, what does that mean in terms of the surcharge and coming back? I know that the Minister of Finance has said that the surcharge has not been levied, that they are still awaiting the investigation. So I think we need clarity around that. We also need clarity around the Minister of Education herself had said that she had invited both the Financial Investigative Division as well as MOCA to look at this case. I think it's important for us to know what exactly was done. Was this just a statement made for public consumption? Was a letter written? Have they been officially and formally invited? And if they have been formally invited, what are we to expect? We don't expect the matter to be tried in the public domain, but we certainly need to know that MOCA has started an investigation, for example, or that the Financial Investigation Department have done that. We would remember the issue with Caribbean Maritime University when that matter was also referred to FID, and there was a discussion about whether or not that was the appropriate institution to do that. So that is something, for example, that we need to understand. The Auditor General had said that the matter should have been reported to the police or some investigation unit. Mm-hmm. Is this it? Is it appropriate? What are the pros and cons? And then,
yes.
Mm-hmm, the other question for clarification is that if these individuals are to be surcharged, what does that mean about any additional action to be taken against them for this same act?
Mm-hmm. Which are some of the things that I wanted to find out whether or not you're aware of, whether, just like you said, now that this surcharge has been levied, does it mean that all other quote-unquote charges will be dropped? Will there be not be proceeding to, say, a trial or an arrest or anything of that nature?
So that is a question that the minister really needs to answer, and we really need to clarify for the public.
Okay. And in relation to the surcharge itself, the initial amount that was in question is $124 million. Do you have any idea as to what percentage or what amount of that represents the surcharge?
No, I don't. And can I tell you, it's part of what I've been talking about the Ministry of Education. Quite frankly, it is the government in general that I don't know why it is when these statements are made, they do not include the kind of details that will be important to the public. It is not good enough to say a surcharge is going to be levied. You need to know what it is. Many of us don't work with the ministry. We don't know what is the formula to calculate it, that kind of a thing. And I want to go further because I don't know if you remember that the Auditor General also asked the ministry to do some other things as well. They asked that the Ministry of Education look into the JCTE, which was the company that there was a problem with $124 million, and look at whether, at its status, and that the Auditor General also said that fraud could be involved. We haven't heard anything about that part of it as well. So it is not just the action of the individuals at the ministry, it is also what has been happening at JCTE. You would remember that when the Auditor General started to get information from them about how that $124 million was spent, that they didn't think they had a responsibility to answer. We haven't heard anything more about that. Have they answered? Have they provided a report? Have they been asked? What is the status of that company? Okay. So I just believe that there's so much that more information that we need as the paying public to understand how taxpayers' money, how that is being managed.
So what is your approach from the opposition side? Will you be pressing for more information, or will you just simply wait until that is provided?
No, we will be asking for those for the answers to those questions, and we will be pressing until we get that information. I believe by now so many Jamaicans are just sick and tired of hearing what is happening in the Ministry of Education and not seeing any progress being made in terms of really putting it behind us, meaning that we know what steps have been taken to hold these individuals responsible, and then we see and know what changes have been made in the institutions to make sure that we don't have a repeat of this. It just seems as if, it happens, and for a couple of days we talk about it and we say we're going to do A, B, C, and D. We don't come back to tell anybody what is happening. So for us, we are going to keep asking these questions, pushing for answers.
Okay. So we're back to face-to-face classes. Have you been monitoring this development? And what's your reaction to this approach by the government?
The first thing I want to say is that I believe that face-to-face, as the data has shown, is really the best way of engaging our students. We have seen what being out of school can do, and we have not improved the physical infrastructure, nor the technological infrastructure to make strictly online learning work for the majority of our students. I believe face-to-face is an extremely good thing. I believe, though, that we have to be very clear that when I say, for example, that we support face-to-face, it also is going to require that the Ministry of Education, for example, ensures that the schools have all the resources they need to educate our children in a safe manner. What do I mean by that? If it means, for example, that you need to ensure that you have additional staff, ancillary staff to help with the sanitization, if you need additional resources to be able to make sure you have the sanitizers, for example, that those things are done, that the mask, for example, that you can offer masks to children coming to school, because if they come there and they don't have, what do you do? If they come with one and it falls on the floor, what do you do? So you need additional resources. You also may need, in some cases, additional resources in terms of teachers' aides and so on to help with how you're going to do it. Because many of our current class sizes, for example, we might not be able to even room to accommodate them, and you may not have enough open spaces to accommodate 34 children in a class and maintain the physical distance and make sure that there's enough ventilation at home in terms of what is required. So those are issues that we need to deal with. Mm-hmm. And then, sometimes we forget that when our children have been out of school for as long as they have, when they come back to school, just being able to manage them in that classroom and to make sure that they are minded of the kind of behavior that's required of them, that also becomes an issue as well. So for all the stakeholders, the ministry, can I tell you, the teachers, because I know are ready to do their part. Of course, I want to make sure that they are safe. Mm-hmm. And important part of getting them in that frame of mind also is not just those resources, but for heaven's sake, the teachers who have not been paid from that summer until now, pay them so that at the very least they feel that they are working for a ministry or with a ministry who values, the work that they came out during the summer, they work. Now they're not hearing anything like that. I think that those things don't help, because just from a moral point of view, it is bound to have an impact. And then we also have to kind of do a little bit more than many were doing before in terms of just communicating with school, making sure that the homework, just keeping in touch so that they know what is happening, making sure that their children are exhibiting the kind of behavior that is conducive to a class at this time.
Okay. All right, Dr. Brown. Just before you go, were you at the prayer breakfast?
No, unfortunately, I was not. But let me tell you, I don't even know if I want to say anything, but I really believe that all of us in public life need to speak and act in ways that inspire the confidence of the Jamaican people, that we're not taking them for idiots, that we're not acting and playing on sympathies and so on. Believe you me, for me it was a most unfortunate statement, most unfortunate state of affairs.
You don't empathize with the Prime Minister? He got emotional, almost teary-eyed?
Oh, that's how you saw it.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Many interpret it differently. And many interpreted it differently because we well remember the then opposition leader indicating that this is keeping our nation safe is the responsibility of the government. They don't get to pass it on to anybody else. And I'm going to say this. The Prime Minister made a very dangerous statement talking about what he was trying to do and those individuals who were preventing him from doing it as if they were supporting criminals. No, when I heard that, I thought about some statements he had made, especially when the opposition in Parliament did not agree with an imposition of a state of emergency. And many could actually interpret that is part of what he was referring to. And for me, that is really, really going beyond the pale. It is not worthy of a president, and it's the most dangerous statement. That is not how we build national consensus around crime fighting and around building a safe.
You do share his concerns about the level of crime and violence in the society, I suspect, though.
Absolutely, we all do. The question is, how do we address it? And what the People's National Party has said, based on the data that is out there, that a state of emergency is not the answer. We have seen in areas of state of emergency where crime has been out of control from time to time as well. So obviously that's not the answer. It is a complex problem that we have been suffering over the years, and therefore it is going to require a multi-sectoral approach, and it is going to also require some kind of national consensus and a national understanding of how we move forward. And what the Prime Minister did at that breakfast is not helpful. And I hope those who mean the country well and mean him well will have the courage to tell him so.
All right. Thank you for your thoughts this morning, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke. Good talking with you as always. Have a good day.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, our pleasure. Okay, that was a chat with Dr. Angela Brown-Burke. She's the chairman of the People's National Party. I'm going to do an unusual introduction. The primary difference, it is said, between major scales and minor scales is the third scale degree. A major scale always has a natural third. A minor scale, in fact, it is said, never has a major third. Now, did you take anything of that nature into consideration?
None at all. None at all. But guess what, Richie? It sounds good. It sounds good.
Yes. So you sing in all kinds of scales, major and minor. Although your name is D
major. Yeah,
major.
Man. Yeah, man. You have to run the scales at times.
You have to run the scales.
Yeah, man.
Welcome, sir.
Man, it's a pleasure.
Oh, you doing, my brother?
I'm great.
It's
Life is here, and we give thanks, man.
Yeah, it's been a while, Major. And,
yes.
It's been a while that you've been on the grind in the music industry.
Yeah.
I want you to take us to the very beginning because, listeners, he has a very interesting start to his career. And I want you to walk us through how you actually got involved in music. We have spoken about this before.
The very start was mid-high school. You know what I'm saying?
Which school is this?
Calabar High School.
Okay.
Big up to Calabar, 61 Railers Road.
You didn't say
black.
KC,
You know
right?
the thing? No, Calabar.
No, Calabar. Okay,
yes,
cool.
sir. Can't make that mistake. Yeah, but mid-high school, regular boy in high school, I beat desk and stuff, and that is how I found my voice, really.
Yeah.
My friends telling me that, you sound like the record, and if my friends in high school tell you that, it is honest. You know what I mean? I said, so from there, just exploring and I've always listened, even my mom's collection and mimic what I was hearing, not knowing that I probably was training my voice.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I remember listening to my mom's music collection and just mimicking.
You remember some of the artists
along.
that she would have in her collection?
Anita Baker, these people, them R&B, them old school R&B and thing.
Yeah.
I say, Jeffrey Osborne, I say, what name, Freddie Jackson and these people.
Okay.
Michael Bolton. There was a Barry Salmon record, however, I could not touch that.
Which one?
A Barry Salmon record. It is an album. It is an album. It's a vinyl. I just know that I don't walk near that.
That was mommy's favorite.
Serious law in the house. Do not walk, do not touch that.
Yes.
You know what I say? Yeah, man. So, and then I grew up being even a fan as well of Burris. I think Burris is the standard, is the benchmark, really and truly. I have to give him flowers. So yeah, that's what we strive for, to make timeless music. You know, music that provokes, you know, good thoughts too.
Yeah.
You know what I say?
I'm going to get to that further because you had a song called Should Not Give It Away.
Yeah.
I want to get to that later on.
Ladies.
But beyond high school and beyond listening to Mommy's collection, where did you actually get involved now? Because at one stage you were doing background vocals work, you were doing all kinds of different things. So tell us a little more now on the journey.
Starting with the background vocals. Okay, so my first tour experience was with Big Up Shaggy. Was with Shaggy, you know what I'm saying? It was a Europe tour. And listen, Richie B, at the deep end, I get baptized in a cause my first tour experience was for like 3 months.
Wow.
3-month European tour, you know what I'm saying? So I get to learn the pros and cons of being on the road and, you know, just a real 5-star lesson, 5-star schooling of tour life. You know, interviews where you connect yourself. You know, you have to be on time when it's call time to the lobby. When it's call time to move. When I leave to our next city, all of these things backstage, your time on stage. Because overseas, most of the times on those festivals, you see a clock counting down the time. So these things, you know, just how to carry yourself professionally overall, you know.
Yeah, you enjoy those.
Oh yes, man. Yeah, man.
Those
Yeah, man. Invaluable, man. Invaluable. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man.
Yeah. But as time progressed, you came into your own as a solo vocalist, and you started putting out. Which was your first hit, by the way? And you have had many.
The first song that I would say got a lot of rotation. When we really hear basically almost every day.
Yeah. Trying to remember.
People Make the World Go Round, produced by Robert Livingston. People Make the World Go Round. We used to hear that a lot. And then another song called Can't Get Enough, produced by 357 Records.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Alongside Kurt Riley, I think so.
Mario.
Yeah, Can't Get Enough.
Yeah, but through the years, hits have come, and it seems the more senior you're getting in the industry, it's easier it is to find the hits. I mean, at one stage you were giving us several of them at the same time, even whether they're collaborations or solo projects. What keeps you motivated going forward?
It's my passion. It's my passion. Music is just what I love to do. You know, it's the only thing I do, and I get that kind of thrill. You know, I feel that freedom.
Yeah.
You know what I say? So it's the only thing that gives me this kind of feeling, and it's my passion. You know, there's this desire that even sometimes, because like with everything, sometimes you question it and you feel discouraged and stuff, but that is life. But even with that, there's that desire that keeps me, you know, on the road. And then sometimes you see the signs and the rewards. You get messages. You know, you see that there's a song in a certain territory, probably in a far away, distant land and sea, but they are loving and receiving a particular song, you know. So
I sometimes don't feel that a D major is necessarily given the respect that he ought to, even here in Jamaica, having seen you on several and introduced you on several stages. The last place I introduced you was in front of about 4,000 to 5,000 people in Bermuda.
Wow, I didn't even remember that.
I show that also featured Chris Martin, and you wrecked that place.
Man.
Like every song that you drew, people were singing along to it.
I get that a lot, to Richie. But it doesn't bother me, you know. I'm a Jamaican artist. You know, I represent Jamaica, but however, you know, I don't limit. I never did. Even from inception, I never limited my reach, you know, and the ability. Never. So, it don't bother me really like that, you know what I say? Of course, there's nowhere like home.
Right.
You know, and definitely home, I can tell you though. Mastering, performing, or anything here, you prepare for the world.
When you go overseas, you're well ahead of the game.
That's the real test. This is the real college for that. So once they pass it here,
you're good to go.
You're ready for the world, man.
Yeah, man. You have obviously not allowed the pandemic to keep you down, keep you quiet. One of the songs that came out is a song, interestingly enough, that was produced by Kabaka. Which we understand also did very well for you in places like Kenya, where your name is quite strong.
Oh gosh, man, I love the Kenyans.
And we're going back to that song I mentioned earlier. Should not give it away. Sounds like a good woman to have. I don't know what it is that she is not sharing.
So you know, Richie,
what am I hearing?
This is every man's desire, regardless of what a man might say. This is every man's desire to have a woman, you know, that possess them kind of superpower.
Yes.
You know me I say a woman, regardless of how far hardly go, him can know saying in himself, him can go in bed at night time and sleep comfortably because he knows that she give it away.
Hardly go.
Hardly go. Hardly not take a chance. Brother, hardly big up.
She's one of them special ladies.
Special. It's a special breed. It's a special kind. You know what I'm saying? But as I say, every man, you know, hopes and desires to have this woman, this column in his corner, you know.
Yeah, man. Big up to her wherever she is.
Big
right
up to
now.
the woman with the nagita, you see? Definitely.
All right. It brought a lot of conversation.
It's always everywhere I go. People say, "Boy, Major, you're mad." I mean, I swear for no man them way, brother. You know me, I say so. But it is what it is. You know, it is honest.
What is new for you? We're into a new year. What are you looking forward to most this year?
A lot.
And what can we expect?
A lot, Richie. I wish me did forward probably 2 weeks after this, or even a week, because there's a lot to share.
Okay.
Which I can't disclose right now, but a lot, Richie, and I'm not doing cartwheels or no flips right now, but I'm very excited right now.
Okay.
You know, I think we have raised the frequency with the material we're upcoming with. Great. You know, right now, definitely. You know, I think I'm experienced enough to can say that right now, even. The first release will be a song I produce myself.
Really?
Yeah, man. It's called Big Iron. It's from a Western song. It's inspired by a Western song, and it's for the youth. I mean, we see the violence go on, Rich, and we don't like it, so we have to use our medium and speak out on it. You know, so Big Iron will be the first single. Look out for that in very, very, very short order.
Is it a full cover or just borrowing some of the melodies or some of the lines?
Just borrowing it. And the whole instrumentation is different too. And we kind
Big Iron
make it feel like we make it feel like, you know, hardcore.
Yeah.
You know, way too. So, yeah, man, because we want to speak the language of the streets as well, forget the message across. Too.
Okay.
You know what I say? So I encourage you them, no, the big guy and another thing, really, you know what I say? Too much of our brother, them are kill, you know, they're brothers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we don't want that something there.
Does it maintain a country feel, that single that's coming out?
Yeah, man. The influence is definitely there.
Okay.
I want to tell you, say, I wish I had a contact to the people, the execs from the movie, The Harder They
Fall.
Yeah, man. I know that would have matched it perfectly. But everything in its time.
We're waiting on that.
You know what I'm saying?
It's interesting you're going there because we had Gramps Morgan on yesterday, and you know that his last album,
Big Brother,
his Grammy-nominated album, also has bars a lot of the country feel.
Oh yeah.
You see the combination as a good look and a good way to go.
Always.
Barring a little country vibe and flavor with the reggae and blending it.
Country music is arguably the biggest, as in has the biggest fan base. The genre that has the biggest fan base.
A lot of people don't know that.
No, a lot of people don't know that. Country music is massive. So, of course, go with it. And Gramps is doing an incredible job.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Fusing the sounds.
Yeah.
You know, so big up Big Brother Gramps Morgan every time.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So your state of mind right now, are you a comfortable and a happy entertainer and artist?
Very much.
Yeah.
Very much.
Are you working as a part of a label or are you working pretty much on your own?
Independent, but you know my home is Big Yard, basically, you know me I say, so you know the family there and things, so I mean nothing don't change that way, but I'm an independent artist, you know I'm doing things definitely independently as well, but that's my base, like if I have anything to record or anything to whatever, that's where you get it preferably done.
All right, how can people find you on social media, Major?
The Major Music on Instagram, you know what I'm saying, the website is www.dmajormusic.com.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Everything D Major is on the website. Yes, I.
Brethren, it's a pleasure catching up with you at this time.
Yeah, man.
Hurry up and sit on the big iron.
Yes.
Give it the usual treatment.
Yes, man. Yeah, man. Definitely.
Yeah, man.
Maybe before the weekend.
Yeah, all right. Looking forward to that. What do you want to say to your fans before you go, D Major?
Just big up to everybody. You know, for the continued support, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, some people have been very loyal to D Major and the journey. You know what I'm saying? Even new supporters. Big up on yourself, and I promise I won't let y'all down, man. I'm about to make y'all proud. You know what I say? And the journey continues, the growth continues. You know what I say? Upful, D-Major, I say that every time.
We look forward to this segment every week, and I'm sure that you do too. Lots of information to share. And we welcome you now to a sponsored segment courtesy of the Office of the Public Defender. And we say good morning and welcome to Public Defender Arlene Harrison Henry. Good morning, Mrs. Henry.
Hi, morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. And
With me is Mr. Mackenzie.
Mr. Mackenzie, Happy New Year to you, sir. Mr. Herbert Mackenzie, Deputy Public Defender. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, sir. Happy New Year to you too.
Thank you so very, very much. We missed you for 2 weeks or so late last year. We understand how it was, and we're happy to have you at the start of the year with our feature, Constitutionally Speaking. And let me right off the bat say thank you, Madam Public Defender, for that beautiful gift that you sent over for me. Much appreciated. Thank you again.
You are most welcome.
All right. Today's topic, we understand, is breaching constitutional rights by constructing unapproved housing developments in residential areas. There are many cases of these breaches, Madam Public Defender. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, there are many of these cases all across the corporate area and in rural communities. Today, however, we want to focus on Frontier Phase 2, which is not the first time we're talking about this. I think this is the second occasion where the Minister of Housing and the Housing Agency of Jamaica, acting as the minister's representative and agent, put up land, sold land to individuals, approximately 130 lots. They are what we call service lots. And they don't have water on those lots of land, Richie.
Yes.
Jamaica's crisis. How can the government, any government, because this has spanned both administrations, how can we cut up land, sell the land to individuals? People build their houses and they have to truck water in. Every house has one of the little black tanks up on the top of the house. And we now have a letter from the Minister of Housing, Urban Renewal, Environment and Climate Change. And Mr. Mack will just read a part of it as to what they are saying about these residents who demand water, a basic necessity of life, we say.
And essentially, the letter from the ministry is saying that the project, by the way, Frontier Estate, that is a community in St. Mary, the letter is saying that it is a housing agency of Jamaica which has responsibility for that project. And that project is a carryover from Operation Pride and is one of several projects in the island that got carried over from Operation Pride and which remains incomplete. Now, according to the letter, HAJ is a self-financing body in the main, and until HAJ have the funds to complete this project, then regrettably, the situation remains as is. In other words, the citizens just have to make do with the water situation. But before I go on, that situation is not entirely dissimilar to the one which you introduced a program with. That is, the series of high-rise building going up in and around the corporate here and elsewhere without the necessary approval in full. Mm-hmm. It's just that this one, the quote-unquote approval, as it were, would necessarily come from the government itself. So the two situations are not entirely different.
Yeah.
It was that back in Frontier, it is one of the most important ingredients in survival, water, and the law of water. While the high-rise building might breach some other regulation,
yes,
usually it is not as detrimental to the owner's occupier as the absence of water in an household that's already established with a full family. So the letter goes on to say that housing agency is in a position now. My word is basically a holding position with respect to funds. And until funds are made available, quote, either by way of grant funds or subvention from the government, then the status quo remains. What is the status quo? People have to be buying water, carrying water on their heads, carrying water in the back of vehicles, carrying water in buckets, and find all sorts of creative, albeit primitive ways of getting water, the source of life.
The issues are many, and the matter of developers exceeding the number of apartments granted to be built is something that you have been speaking out about for quite some time. I wanted to ask, how does an issue like this affect the constitutional rights of residents, and what do you hope will change following the outcomes of investigations that are currently underway?
Richie, we first of all want to say to citizens that the protection of their standard of living, the protection of their quality of life, which are single-family homes. Because when persons bought their lots of land years ago, they would have examined the covenants for the varying communities, be it Norbrook, be it Charlemont, be it Sandhurst, be it Mona, be it Hope Pastures, be it Eastwood Park Gardens, and the list goes on. They would have seen on their registered title issued by the government of Jamaica through our registration process, they would have seen that their homes and their lands could not be subdivided without the approval of a court. What has been happening in a number of these communities is that once the planning permission and the building permission have both been granted, people break ground. And while the building is going up, they then say, oh, well, let us file the application in the Supreme Court of Jamaica to modify the covenant. That is, to change it from single-family residence to whether strata, to subdivide the land, to add density. And when we talk about density, we are aware of the existence of the Provisional Development Order, where densities are increased. We are saying that the covenant, the restrictive covenant as to usage of land, how many people are to occupy a particular land, developers ought to clear that before they break ground. We are also saying to citizens that whilst public expressions of frustration and anger via television, via media, via all different kind of fora, very important. But you have to get in court, because the mere advocacy and the exposure of the problem is not going to get you the results that citizens want. You see, Richie, you're accustomed to Jamaican life. You know that many people, and some of it is generational, will need a mango tree in the backyard. Many of us will need 2 banana roots in the backyard. And many of us also need gardens. You are fundamentally affecting the quality of life of communities and it seems to us from where we sit, is that development and planning approval will be given wherever the developer can find a lot in a particular community. And I say this, Richie, because from sometime last year, we had said to NEPA, NRCA, invite us and let us look at the overall strategic plan for the development of the city. Because as a Commission of Parliament, we cannot be against development. We cannot be against the better rationalization of usage of land. Well, from that time until now, that letter remains unanswered on my side. The fact of the matter is, we can't have development by stealth, secrecy, as if the development relates only to the developer. It doesn't. It impacts hundreds of people. Communities have their backs against the wall because they have worked hard buying their largest investment at high interest rates. Remember, we beam in on the tri-state where people are accustomed to mortgages at 1.5%, 3%, and if you get it at 5%, it is regarded as high. We Jamaicans have bought our homes at 17% interest. And that is something that planning authorities need to bear in mind, that it cannot be that in the middle of a road, because a developer has managed to lay claim or acquired some parcel of land, then it means that we're going to put a high rise. We are asking to see the overall strategic developmental plan for Kingston and St. Andrew. It cannot be a secret. All of us own Jamaica. Each one of us has vested interest in this small rock where the whole of we born and grow. And, but taking it back to frontier, Richie B, how can the government of Jamaica, whichever one, and like I say, frontier spans the two administrations, how can they develop land, cut up the land? It started as Operation Pride. When HAJ took it over, the lots were being sold at commercial rates. Can a private developer in Jamaica cut up a parcel of land, subdivide it, sell it out, and there's no infrastructure, the most critical one being water? A private developer can't do that. And therefore, the government must hold itself to the same standard as it holds private developers, which is to put infrastructure into these communities. In COVID time, where sanitization, washing of hands, cleaning place, water becomes even more critical. Richie, we heard it said that some of the people in this same frontier had not paid for their land or had owed HHA money. We wrote to HHA in August to say, in relation to frontier, tell us the people who owe and how much is owed. Well, nobody has answered that. But as usual, we have a big PR mechanism in this country. We see persons who are said to be employees of HAJ coming out and saying some of the communities don't have water because people have not paid. But our letter in relation to frontier asking how much is owed according to what you say and who owe, that letter remains unanswered.
Wow.
The government of Jamaica, whoever makes up the government, because we really don't care, where it does a development and it uses its authority to virtually bypass the parish council because it goes under the Housing Act. You cut up land and you sell to people. I want to say, even if those lots were not sold, but were given to people, the government has a responsibility to provide water to those lots.
I hear you.
This is a matter, Richie, that we have sent up to the Infrastructure and Physical Development Committee of Parliament. We have asked for a date for us to make submissions to that committee. We haven't gotten a date yet. This is a matter very much like Harborview, where the backs of people's houses are perched on top of a gully built by the National Works Agency or in conjunction with or in association with an ODFEM.
Which are all, we're talking about agencies of the government, basically.
Yes.
All right, well.
Approval of NRCA.
Mm-hmm.
And these people's houses continue to be perched on the edge of a gully.
I know, I hear you, and I hear your plea. We're out of time, unfortunately, but I thank you for highlighting the issues once again. Today we looked at breaching constitutional rights by constructing unapproved housing developments in residential areas. I'd like to thank our Public Defender, Arlene Harrison Henry, as well as Deputy Public Defender Herbert McKenzie, for the deliberations this morning. We look forward to having you next Thursday when once again we'll go through this sponsored segment, Constitutionally Speaking. Thank you, lady and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care. Have a good day.
Richie B, the party master, on Up and Go, The Bridge, 99 FM.